won 112,000 today.
Don't want to die. Death is a constant reminder here.
More people we kill, we advance.
You ain't supposed to be alive.
Stealing, shooting people, doing whatever I had to do.
We had to make a living.
I want him dead. I want his family dead.
I know how to grind. I started from the bottom.
Never rat on your friends.
Race to rackets.
It's rough on a black man.
Hold up, we're gonna blow this whole...
March 2nd, 1987, the Pizza Connection trial ended, with 18 convictions involving the Italian Mafia for an enterprise that involved processing heroin in Sicily, morphine purchased from Turkey and Southwest Asia, and cocaine from South America, for final distribution of drugs in the United States through independently owned pizza parlor fronts from 1975 to 1984. Now, that move was estimated at $1.65 billion. See, that was majority, if not all, the heroin in New York. So it was a crazy drought when the guys got indicted. Now, we have to find a new connect, a reliable source with a large supply to make up for the loss. And there's only one place to look, which is Chinatown, Manhattan. And the one guy to see, and that's Johnny Eng, aka Machine Gun Johnny. The boss of the Flying Dragons, he quickly became one of the 5 major heroin dealers in New York City, with 70% of the heroin arriving in New York came from China sources in Southeast Asia. Now, China White was a heroin produced in Southeast Asia, and it was extremely pure. So when you hear your favorite rapper talk about that China White, that's what he's talking about. Believe it or not, Johnny actually adopted the trade name of China White for the Flying Dragons. They would ship it inside tea cans and stuffed animals, all types of stuff. Now, before that, their operation was mainly protection rackets and gambling. At 24, Johnny became the head of the Flying Dragon shortly after his boss was shot to death 14 times. Before, he was underboss to Michael Chen, aka the Scientist, after working his way up the ranks as a street thug. As underboss, he and the boss couldn't agree on getting into the heroin business. Most people suspected him of killing his boss and taking over. Now, what made this guy hard to catch is that every trick the FBI had, such as wiretaps or even using an undercover, wouldn't work. Cause who the hell speak Chinese? They didn't have the language skill or written skill, so they wasn't ready for the Chinese organized crime. Now, he had rivals in New York that sold heroin, so that means that was cutting into his money. He actually found out the time and the place of the shipments of his rivals. Now, the average person would plot to take the shipments, but that would cause a war, and that would slow up your money also. So he decided to serve his rivals to law enforcement on a platter. Instead of causing a war, I can get you out the way for good. He used one of the 48 laws of power, crush your enemy totally. Now, they would finally set up Group 41, a group that had Chinese skill to understand and read what was going on. But by the time they had all this in place, he already had a $60 million empire. But they would find addresses and hit up postal service and intercept packages. They seized dope and $3 million in cash from a location in Boston that was headed out to Chinatown. Now, with that being said, the indictments went out, and he immediately flew back to Hong Kong. And people were confused on how that happened because he was wanted. His name was all over the place. It's not like he used a private jet. He flew right out of JFK under his passport. But time after the madness would turn into a global manhunt. The funny part is, they came across his name on a call girl investigation in China. His name was right on the list. So he was tracked down by an investigator named Tony Peng. He was by himself. So Tony tapped him on the shoulder like, "Hey, are you Johnny Eng?" He said, "Yeah." "Can you come with me to my office?" He said, "Sure, let's go." The investigator told him that he had to arrest him and, he was cool. So they went back to the office. He didn't even put him in handcuffs. They just rolled back. So, with him being caught, they immediately seized $40 million from him. He didn't want to do any time in the United States, and he wanted to stay in Hong Kong. It took about 3 years for the U.S. to get him back to the U.S. Now, when he got back to the U.S., they put him on the same wing as John Gotti. And he actually hired John Gotti's lawyer, not Bruce Cutler, but Gerald Shoriel. They were so confident that they was going to win the case that Eng made reservation for 40 guests at a restaurant for Pagan Duck for that Friday night. Yeah, so it was Monday at the time, and they was going to return for the verdict on Friday. And I guess he was thinking he was going to get released on that Friday night. But Machine Gun Johnny got hit with 24 years after 2 of his workers testified against him. But he served all of his time and came home in 2010 and disappeared. No one in the US or Hong Kong heard anything from him. Not even after his wife was killed, 8 months after his release. They said it was a Flying Dragon member. Then after that, the same member that killed her turned the gun on himself. But that's it for now. That's all we got tonight, man. Don't forget to hit that like button if you like the video. Comment on what you think. Hit the subscribe button if you're new. Thanks for watching. I'm out.